I'm here with Liz Lesher, a member of our FERPA task force, and I want to take a few minutes with her to go over FERPA. Thanks for joining me, Liz.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Now, can you talk a little bit about our FERPA task force?
Well, the FERPA Task Force is just a group of people. We're here to make sure FERPA is on your mind, remind you of the basics, and then also get a little bit into the weeds when unique or uncommon situations come up. So we put out sort of little hypotheticals to the teams to see what they think FERPA would tell them to do in that situation, and then make sure everyone's sort of on the same page.
Great, wonderful. Now, for a new OA, what do you think are important points to understand about FERPA?
Well, I think there are two realms of knowledge you need to have about FERPA. One is the broad picture of FERPA. FERPA is a federal law. It protects student privacy. You should definitely get down what things FERPA covers and what things FERPA does not cover. So what's protected information and what's more general directory information. That is something that when you come across it in that intro FERPA training, you should really commit to memory. The other division of information you should keep clear in your mind is what your school in particular requires you to do with FERPA. Each school has different FERPA identifiers. Each school has different levels of, frankly, care that they put into FERPA. And finding out what your school requires is sort of the more concrete part of FERPA that you need to get committed to memory.
Okay, that's great information. Now, as I came in, I know speaking from experience, just entering higher ed, I entered higher ed like back in 2005. I was like 23, and just being introduced with FERPA was so overwhelming.
Yes.
So it was a lot of student data that I was handling at the time. And just from experience, I know how it feels. So just for OAs that come in that are new, what advice would you give them to help as they start working with students, just so FERPA doesn't seem so overwhelming?
Well, I think the first thing to acknowledge is that FERPA, when you're new and you're first working with students, will feel awkward. It will not come off conversationally. Asking for FERPA identifiers is a must, and you're going to get to a place where it feels normal to have that sort of formal interaction with students. But in the beginning, you're just going to have to acknowledge that it's something you have to do, and it's something that is going to feel awkward initially. You're just going to have to move past it in terms of the FERPA identifiers. The other thing I would say to new OAs is that if you're not certain if you can disclose something or when you can disclose something, the best answer is to say you can't. Discretion is the better part of valor there. So you can say you don't know if you can disclose that. You can say, I'm going to check with someone and get back to you about that information. You can say, let me call you back. Any number of things where if you come into a situation where you're uncertain, the answer should be no at the end of the day. You can always call a student back. You can always email them information that you cannot disclose over the phone. Think of it that way. Be cautious.
Great, and I think that's a great way to end. Be cautious when it comes to FERPA. We always want to make sure that we are following the best practices. So thank you for joining me and sharing the information for our new OAs.
You're very welcome.